At the age of 23, Franklin had come far from his days as an apprentice to his brother. With the money from his business, Franklin bought a newspaper called the Pennsylvania Gazette, which was soon turned into one of the most popular newspapers in the colonies. In 1730, Ben married a woman named Deborah Reed. The two settled into a home above Franklin's shop, where business was booming. Even though his shop printed many other people's work, Franklin published a lot of his own writing too. In 1732, he started writing and printing a small pamphlet he called Poor Richard's Almanac.
An almanac? What's an almanac?
Almanacs were very popular in the 1700s because they were inexpensive and full of helpful lists and charts about the weather, farming, and the tides. Ben was always interested in anything to do with science. In addition to that information, Franklin included little proverbs or sayings like,
"Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. A penny saved is a penny earned."
These proverbs were just little bits of advice meant to help people. Benjamin Franklin was very concerned about helping people, and the almanac was one small way he did just that. Poor Richard's Almanac was a huge success and made Franklin a lot of money. But he didn't limit himself to just writing helpful advice to people in his almanac. Franklin began helping to develop the city of Philadelphia. Franklin looked around the city, and wherever he saw a need, he simply came up with something to fill it. In 1731, along with several other friends, Ben founded the first public lending library in the colonies. At the library, just like today, people could come and borrow what they wanted to read. The idea was very popular and spread quickly to other cities. Since houses were close together and chimneys were not well built, fire was a terrible problem in Philadelphia. Franklin wrote about it in the newspaper and asked for volunteers to help put out fires. The response was overwhelming, and soon Philadelphia was one of the safest cities in the colonies. Franklin thought that his fire company was the best in the world. In 1737, mail delivery could take many weeks and was often unreliable. Franklin became postmaster of Philadelphia and went right to work improving the mail system. He reorganized how the mail was delivered and set up a system to let people know when mail arrived for them. To speed up delivery along heavily traveled routes, Ben hired horseback riders to travel at night when the roads were less busy. This made it possible to send a letter from Philadelphia to New York and get a reply the very next day.
That's even better than today.
As more people began to use the mail to communicate with each other, they began to feel closer together, more like members of the same country.
And don't forget how he started the first hospital, helped create the University of Pennsylvania, and organized Philadelphia's first police department. He even thought up ways to light up the streets and get rid of garbage.
Because of all the work that Franklin had done to help people, everyone began to trust his opinions and good ideas. The community looked to him for help with just about any problem, and Franklin had plenty of solutions up his sleeve. But Ben's love of science led him to experiment just for the sake of gaining more knowledge. The most famous one had to do with his lifelong interest in the weather.
This just in. Welcome to 1752. Ben Franklin, known for his boundless curiosity, is fascinated with electricity. At the time, electricity is not well understood, and Ben wants to prove his theory that lightning is electricity in the sky. The weather forecast calls for strong storms to increase by this evening, and Franklin says tonight is the perfect night for kite flying. Using only a kite, a wire, a key, and a glass jar, Franklin performs a simple but dangerous experiment. Attaching a wire to his kite, Franklin believes he can attract the electrical energy from the storm cloud. When the storm approaches, lightning will strike, and the energy will travel down the wet kite string and electrify the key. If he touches the key with his finger, he should feel an electric spark. Stand back, everyone! Success! imagine, Mr. Franklin is thrilled. Make that electrified that he's proved his theory.